Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the first scripting tutorial that I'm going to post on this channel to teach you guys how to do scripting. And the whole point of these videos is really to give you guys a background look into how I make some of the videos that I post on my main channel, which is called Investing Sucks, and also help you guys learn scripting step by step because it is a very powerful tool. It can allow you to do a lot of things to analyze companies more efficiently. And really, I think if you learn this, it can save you a ton of time when you're actually researching companies to look for in investing. So the first script we're going to do is a very simple one, and it's actually the most liked script on the website right now. So it has 7 likes. It's the Altman Z-score one. So clearly there's at least a few people using this one. And basically the Altman Z-score is a score that was developed by Professor Edward Altman, which essentially measures the bankruptcy risk of a company. It's mainly used for manufacturing companies, but other companies it can be used for. So I want to take you inside and how I actually created this script. And it's a rather simple one. If we just take a look at the code here, we can see it's only 29 lines of code, and it's really nothing complex. I mean, I'll explain to you what each lines mean, and a lot of these lines are kind of the same thing, just repeated. So we're going to cover concepts like, for one, basically how to have an entry box appear where the user of the script can enter data, which is then used in that script. So to give you an example what I mean, I'll open my scripts and show you for this Altman Z-score. For example, how this works is you'd have to enter a company, and then the script would obviously calculate what the Altman Z-score is for that company. And you would enter that in this right here, which says enter ticker here. So let's do 3M, for example, and we'd enter that. And then we just click run down here, and then we'll see the results pop up. It's just text that pops up here, and it tells you, gives some information about the Altman Z-score, and then it says what the value is right here, so about 4.21. So here's the code, and then I have this window open here, where I'm basically going to show you step by step how I created this. So the first thing I want to cover is basically how do we get data to appear, kind of like this entry box did here. So where it says enter ticker here, how do we get data to, or how do we get those things to appear there so that we can enter data, and then how do we then use that in the actual script? So it's pretty easy. Basically, to get things to enter there, you just do 3 dashes. And by the way, the coding language that this is called Lua. But we have a lot of custom commands built in here, which make it easier to use this for, investing, financial related reasons. And it's a really simple language to learn. I myself had no coding background, and I was able to learn this in a few weeks. So say we want to have the user enter a ticker, right? So we would enter that ticker, and then once we do the 3 dashes and we have the word here, that word is now going to appear here. So we can see, I'll zoom in a bit more just in case. So we can see here it says ticker, right? Now, if we wanted to add more than one, we just kind of put a comma, and so we also wanted to add a PE ratio, for example. So let's save that. You always want to be making sure you're saving your scripts as you go along because just in case there's some glitch, you don't want to lose your script. So now we go here and we have ticker and PE. So those have appeared in the entry boxes, but we haven't actually assigned those variables to anything, right? Like those variables right now, they don't actually mean anything. So how we would have them to mean something is we would have to assign them a value. So we're going to define what the variables would then be that we assign a value to. So we do that just kind of going like this. So now anything, whatever value gets entered in the box here for ticker is going to be assigned the variable ticker. And then the same thing with PE. And then that gets used later on in the script. So for example, if we take a look at the Altman Z-score script, so open the code, we have function run, and then in the brackets it says ticker. So for whatever ticker the user of that script enters, it's going to perform all this calculations. And in order to do that, we have to actually define what these calculations mean. So the first thing we'd have to do is I'll get rid of the PE here, since we're just working with one variable that the user enters, which is ticker. So because the Altman Z-score uses the latest financial data to calculate, the Altman Z-score, whatever the value is for the company, we need to basically pull that financial data that's used in the calculation. So what I also want to add real quick is the actual formula that the Altman Z-score uses. And this is another cool trick that I can show you. If you put 2 dashes and then enter text, so what I just copied and pasted in here is the formula for the Altman Z-score. 2 dashes means the script isn't going to read whatever that line is. So 2 dashes, line 3 isn't going to be read by the script reader. So if you want to just leave yourself notes or reminders as you're going through your script, or at the top of your script, leave like notes saying like things that you have to work on in order to complete it. This is a good way to do that. So one of the ratios that we need to know for the Altman Z-score is working capital, right? And working capital is current assets minus current liabilities. So how do we get current assets, right? The whole goal is to get the value of current assets for whatever ticker the user has entered, which we know is defined by the variable ticker. So how are we going to do that? Oh, let me just go back here and then make sure I save this. So I'll copy and paste this in, but I'll also explain what it means because this is kind of the next line of code that we have to look at. And as you'll notice, a lot of code here is, it's pretty similar, right? So local is the first word that you'll have in this. This is used to basically define a local variable. So we're defining a variable, we're defining what current assets means. So local current assets, which you could name the variable whatever you want. You could name it, like CURR assets if you don't want to spell the full word. I like to use full words just because it's easier for me to look back at it later and understand what it means. Equals get XBRL latest. So what does this mean? And a cool trick is if you hover over command, it tells you the command. So get XBRL latest. Get XBRL, first of all, is extensible business reporting language. And it's how we got a lot of the data initially onto our website because US companies, when they file their financial information, they have to tag the financial information, which is when they describe a value to it. They state what it is. So, for example, it could be their cash balance is $1 million. And actually, to show you this, because I can show you this really quickly, if I just go to, let's pick Apple stock here, and then I'll go to their SEC filings just to show you what XBRL data actually is. And we'll just go to their most recent 10K. We can see on this, there's a lot of these orange lines here, right? So anything that has an orange line is XBRL data. So if we go to their financials, here's item 8 here. So here's their financials. Here's their statement of operations, so their income statement. And if I were to click this, this is the tag. So this is what this is. Revenue from contract. It's, the long name. It's essentially just revenue. The fact is what the value is for Apple, the period, so what it relates to, which is the 9 months ending as of this date. It's in USD, and then a bit of other information. So this is what XBRL data is. So get XBRL latest is basically getting the latest XBRL value for that company. And we want to get that value for ticker, right? Because we've assigned the variable ticker to be whatever ticker the user of this script enters. So if they were doing 3M, they would enter the ticker for 3M, which is just 3Ms. And so they'd enter ticker because they want to get it for whichever company is entered. The next command, which we can see here, is called, the second one is string segment. So this really isn't in effect yet. It's something that is probably going to be used later on once we've actually we have actually loaded more segment data onto the website. So for now, for the most part, you can just ignore that and put nothing. And the way you put nothing is just two of these like commas here. So just kind of basically what I have here. And then you want to enter the actual string value name. So this does have to be a little precise. So assets current is what the XBRL tag is for current assets. Now, the way you can get this information easily, if you want to know what a specific tag is you can just pick any company. And if you go to the details tab, you'll see the name here, all this data here, and the value. So this name here is basically what you would enter for this. So it's the name of whatever financial information, whatever property of a company you're trying to get. It's all in here. So we're going to go to right here, which is assets current. We would get the latest value of current assets for Apple as of their most recent quarterly filing, which is about $135 billion. So that's what it's called here. So we have to keep the exact same name for current assets, which is just assets current, and then enter it in here in quotations, and then close the bracket off. And that's how you defined current assets. And then you can do the exact same thing with current liabilities, right? So I'll just copy and paste in, and really whatever financial metric you want to get, anything that appears in this company's list that I've just put up here, um, or in this list of information here, all of this data you can use, and you can just do get XBRL latest, and it will pull the latest value for that specific company. And you can see there's a lot of different things, right? There's all these financial metrics. There's even some of these metrics, which are metrics that we created to add to the website, like EBITDA. You can see MMEV, which is enterprise value. So whatever you're trying to calculate, just go to the list, try and locate what the name for it is, and then you can just put it in there, define the variable, whatever you want to call it, and then there you go. Now we wanted to calculate working capital. So the way we do that is we can just create another variable, call it working capital equals, and now because we've defined what current assets and current liabilities are, we would just enter it like that. Now we've basically defined what working capital is. So we'll save that. We can also name the script, which I should have done at the start. So I'll just call this Altman Z-score 2. Save that. And then we would basically just want to go through the entire formula for the Altman Z-score and determine, how to define each of these aspects of it, and then put it into a final calculation. So we can see in the script here, I've got a few different variables, like we need to get the total assets, total liabilities, retained earnings, the market cap, the revenue, the operating income or EBIT, earnings before interest and tax. And you can see the way I got all these was the exact same way I got current assets, current liabilities, whether it's a balance sheet item, an income statement item, you get it all the exact same way and it pulls the latest value. So I'll copy and paste this in to complete more aspects of the script. One thing I want to say though is, for example, if you're trying to get revenue for the last 12 months, make sure you use revenue TTM. Don't just use revenue, because that just gets you revenue as of the most recent quarter. Because all of the financial information is quarterly unless otherwise specified. So for example, revenue TTM, which we can see here, is obviously revenue for the trailing 12 months. Same thing with operating income. It's for the trailing 12 months. And again, if you're ever just not sure what the name of a certain financial statement item is that you want to use in your script, then you just go where I showed you, go to here, locate what you're looking for. We can see there's a whole bunch of different items you can use, and you'll find it. Even some ratios, like for example, we have ROIC, like return on invested capital. We got free cash flow. I mean, even this one here, EV EBITDA, EV to EBITDA. So I'd recommend just exploring that so you get a flavor for what's available and what you can use in a script. So then the next step is basically to define the z-score. I kind of just would put A, B, C, D, and then define that to be, the certain aspects of the score. I'm not going to get too in depth into the mechanics of the Altman z-score because it's more about, how the scripting worked for this. But you can see I basically followed the exact same concept, right? Like A equals working capital divided by total assets, which that's the first part of the formula, which we can see here, which is 1.2 times working capital divided by total assets. So by assigning working capital divided by total assets with the value A, I could basically just do 1.2 times A, and then that's what I use in the z-score here. So all of this is basically the exact same concept of just, creating a variable, like saying A equals whatever you want to equal, which can be, a variable you've already defined. Like we've defined what working capital is, we've defined what total assets is right here. So the system knows for total assets, get the most recent value of the company's assets as of their most recent quarterly filing. And then the z-score here just performs the calculation based on all these things. So I don't think I need to explain that any further. I think it's pretty simple. It's just defining a variable and then using previous variables that you defined to assign a value to that one. So the last thing I want to cover is how to actually print what the results are. Because right now this script, it would work in that um, it would generate the number that you're looking for. It would create the z-score, but it wouldn't tell you what it is, right? Because you need to also tell the system, once you've calculated it, tell me what it is. And the way you do that is with a command called println, which is print line. So all you do for this is, so you do println, and then you would open up a bracket. And if you want to have text, then the text has to be in quotations, as you can see here. So I've got, Altman Z-score for this company is in quotations. And then I want to also, after that, show what the actual score is, which we've assigned as the variable z-score here. I'll zoom in a bit more here. So z-score equals, we can see, all this calculation that we did here, z-score, and then the way we get it to appear after this line of text that we have here is we just do two dots and then just type the variable, right? So say we wanted to, instead of saying for this company, we wanted to actually say what the company was. So how would we do that? So we go this, do a space, dot, dot. So this base, the two dots is like a transition into, you know, basically being allowing you to define what the variable is. So we could do something like ticker, and then dot, dot, we want to transition back into text. So Altman z-score for the ticker is, and then what the z-score is. So that's how you print the final results. And now we've basically completed everything we need, right? I mean, just to review what we looked at, um, we learned how to add an entry box so that the user can, enter their ticker, and then you could put 3M in again, and then click run, and then we'll see what the results end up being here. Let's see. So Altman z-score for MMM is, 4.21, basically what it was when we ran it earlier. Um, so the script's working, right? We didn't get any errors. If there was an error with your code, it would show up in here. And for example, if I were to, let's say for this variable, I was to forget to enter a command, right? So I just took away the quotes, which was the string segment. So let's save that and then try and run it, and then we'll see what happens. Maybe this won't result in an error particularly, but let's see if it actually does tell us that there is an error. Okay, so it still ran, but it basically just ended up ignoring that one line. And I'll just put it back. So that's basically an overview of how to do a script where you define variables, you pull the latest financial information, you perform calculations with that financial information that you've created, and then you print the results. So you could use this for a lot of things, right? If there's one financial metric that you always like to calculate for a company, it's not something that is readily available or is easy to calculate, you could just create a script that calculates it for you. You could go to the script, just enter whatever ticker you want it to be calculated for. You click run and it'll calculate for you. So I hope you did find this useful. And if you did find this useful, leave a like. And if you do have any questions, then please leave a comment. If there's anything I was unclear about, leave a comment and I'll respond to you. Clarifying things. And then also make sure you follow our Reddit page here so you can stay up to date with everything that's going on. So again, thank you for sticking around, and I'll see you guys in the next video.